Welcome. I'm your host, Alpha Mike. Episode today is number 8282, and we are talking about the Neighborhood Enhancement Team, NET, currently used by many police departments to, of course, enhance their neighborhoods. And who do we have than the best super co-host that we can come up with? 2 weeks in a row, my friends, this contract that we have signed is exclusive, and we are so blessed to have Wonder Woman once again with us. We are going to discuss that and other matters. We're going to discuss, before we jump into that, we're going to discuss local happenings in the media, kind of the hysterics of the day. And we're also going to talk about our lineup for the month of April as we start April, and some other issues that might occur in the month of April with Raider Cop Nation as well. At the end of our broadcast, I will be discussing with you some investigative findings that we will keep between just us, and we won't share with the co-host. Now, our leadership quote of the week. A good leader takes a little bit more than his share of the blame and a little less his share of the credit. Arnold H. Glasso, leadership quote of the week. Now, speaking of leadership, we have been looking at for this month that just passed and this one that's coming in, hysteria of the left and the political arena. It is so disturbing, so disgusting. It never goes away, by the way, folks. It is about complete control on how you live your life. And that's what the name of the game is with our friends on the left. Now, some of you guys are saying, no. It's also that crazy guy in the White House. Well, I don't know about you, but there are more wacky ones than that one in the White House, so there is a disadvantage. But that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the fundamental right of the Constitution and why our forefathers were so blessed to give us the Constitution the way it was written. And now we look at the left trying to hack it up into little pieces and put it in a garbage disposal somewhere, where they don't like the Electoral College anymore and the popular vote wins and anything else they can lend their hands on. Maybe let's get rid of the Second Amendment. Why we need that garbage for? Why we need the First Amendment? We don't need that either. Babies don't have no rights. Why should you? And the list goes on. The wackiness and the bizarre behavior is there. Now, I personally believe that the country's a little bit smarter than voting for a bunch of fools. But I've seen it before, so it wouldn't surprise me. Here we're focusing on law enforcement and nothing more and nothing less than that subject. And in the month of April, we've got some good shows for you. Of course, today's episode 82, with Neighborhood Enhancement Teams. We will be followed by the off-duty officer with Kilo Sierra, and episode 85, which starts off May 1st, actually, with Delta, our corrections, the forgotten profession superhero, which will come on here, and we will talk about all kinds of things that are happening on that side of the law enforcement street. We always have a full agenda, folks, and you can always reach us at www. And by the way, Mike Sierra hates when I do that www. You don't have to say that anymore. RaiderCopNation.com. And as a result, you can find us there. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. The icons will come up: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. We are reaching out to people. Our Twitter feed on Raider Cop Nation, at Raider Cop Nation, all one word. We went from, I believe, a measly 53, 54 people that were on our page to like 150 on two blinks of an eye. So we must be doing something right. Now, we don't really push the way some of these wacky other people push their social media. It's very time consuming. You can get lost in that. We're trying to push some good quantity out to you, some good quality podcasts. I'm not going to waste my time playing around with Facebook as I'm getting zapped on the other side by the liberals, so nobody really gets to see anything that I'm saying or posting. But we are going to dedicate these shows with a lot more detail. So big kudos go out to our co-hosts. They are phenomenal, and without them, you would have less information in your noggins for you to understand what we all are about. We're about giving back. We are about mentoring, and you are part of that because you've hooked up to us. Now, the last subject I want to talk about is, as you know, Raider Cop Nation has a program called Test Everything. I constantly say it every show, but I don't like the numbers. I don't like the numbers, and that's why I'm repeating it. Test Everything, 1521. You can go to Raider Cop Nation right there. The top toolbar, you will see Test Everything. Click on that, and it'll give you less than 15 minutes of the Word of God to enrich your life, to uplift you, and to keep you on the straight and narrow. We train in the school setting or the classroom setting. We train in the field setting, but we're not training in the spiritual sense. And therefore, my friends, if you're not doing that, you are on the road to destruction at some point. You have to train up in that spiritual realm as well. I know I say it a lot, but those numbers are not really there. I'm looking at the analytics, and I'm saying to myself, are people really running from God's word that much? We started out with a bang when we were doing 5 minutes or less. The numbers were phenomenal. They've dropped down considerably. So if you take the opportunity, it's only 15 minutes or less, and it's going to uplift you, believe me, encourage you. And the power of God's word is always created for those that it was meant for. So if that's you, you'll be clicking on it. If it's not, mind your business, keep going. Don't be hoodwinked, folks. There are other podcasts out there, but they're not like ours. We combine reality with fun, and we spit out knowledge like Mike Sierra likes to say. The month of April is going to be a difficult one for me. As many of you know, my dad has an ailment that is very difficult to come by, and that is cancer, or to defeat, better said. And he's been putting up a good fight at 85. The old man's hanging in there tough. You know, if a lot of the co-hosts know my dad and his personality, and he'll say things like, you know, people will see him and go, wow, you've lost a lot of weight. And he'll say, yeah, it's a good diet, but I don't recommend it for everybody. So that's my dad. So he is scheduled for the month of April. Don't have the exact date. Surgery. And therefore, as you know, I have to be there. Some of these programs will be pre-recorded, and I'll go ahead and wherever I'm at, I'll load them up for you so you guys can enjoy those shows. And if it runs a little longer, I may solicit the help of my co-host, Mike Sierra, if he could grab the helm for me while I attend to Dad. Rough time ahead. I need your prayers. I need your positive vibes and thoughts. It's just a rough time. So keep that in mind. But it's not going to stop me and rob me of my joy, because the scripture says, and the Lord said, don't let the enemy rob your joy. And speaking of joy, I have the pleasure of announcing another arrival of our super co-host, Wonder Woman. Well, we had her last week, and we have her this week. It is almost a miracle. That contract that we negotiated with Captain America has done superb for us, and we're appreciative. But today we're talking with Wonder Woman about the Neighborhood Enhancement Teams, or better known as NET. She's going to come on and explain to us what in the world is this all about. Wonder Woman, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me once again. It's always a pleasure for me to be on the show and speak with you.
It's always our honor to have you here, Cape Crusader like yourself, fighting crime with an agent like Captain America. But today we're talking about Neighborhood Enhancement Teams. What in the world is all that about?
Neighborhood Enhancement Teams. Well, within the police department, we have different units, just like we spoke last week on PIO. The Neighborhood Enhancement Team is also another unit that is geared towards problem solving. So within the Neighborhood Enhancement Team, we have our neighborhood resource officers. We have our school resource officers. We have the problem solving teams. We have the beat officers that work our foot patrol, or they work the beat in their cars. We also have the bike patrol. So basically these teams work more closely within the community while patrol is answering calls for service. They are personalizing the experience, for the lack of a better word. They're the ones that walk a beat. They speak to business owners. They get out their cars, speak to business owners. They speak with everyone in the community. They walk the parks. They do, their watch orders where they walk a park at night to make sure that everything's fine. If the town has downed wires or lights or any fixtures or poles, street lights, anything that is of a safety concern, then they handle it. They work with the Department of Transportation. They work with all of the other entities, Parks and Recreation, and they work with these entities to be able to better the community. So they're just the neighborhood enhancement. That's exactly what it is, to enhance the community and the neighborhoods.
Now, it sounds like there's a lot of people on the team. So does it have its own command structure?
It does. It has a commander. It has a sergeant in charge of the sergeants for these units. For example, the problem-solving team has a sergeant, has to report to a sergeant that's assigned by the commander. So it's the support sergeant. So this support sergeant is the one that communicates directly to the sergeants within the units, every directive that the commander gives out and anything that needs to be done. So it's basically the commander is the one in charge of the neighborhood enhancement teams.
And the neighborhood enhancement teams would be like in a district, correct?
Every district has their neighborhood enhancement team.
Okay. Well, it's a step
every
up.
Every zone, every net, every area.
It's a step up from community policing. It's got a lot of elements to it. So the NET will go ahead and negotiate, or not negotiate, but team up with neighbors in the neighborhood, homes, homeowners, businesses as well, correct?
Yes. If you have an area where there are a lot of burglaries, then usually the community leaders will team up with the neighborhood resource officers, the problem-solving team, and everyone, the beat officers, bicycle patrol, and they'll formulate a plan. They'll address it and reassess to make sure that the plan was taken, that the that everything was taken care of, or that the problem was taken care of. And if it was not, then they'll start all over again, find a new method to deal with it, reassess the situation, formulate another plan, put it into play, reassess it again. And it's just a process that continues, and it's done over and over and over and over until the problem is resolved. Maybe it's that the neighborhood doesn't have any light posts and it's really dark, and then that's why thieves are able to walk around the neighborhood and nobody sees them. So then they'll put up light posts. They'll put up, alarms. They'll formulate a crime watch team, or the same people in the community to become crime watch officers. And, they all work together to get rid of the problem. That's just basically it. And it takes a lot of load off of patrol, because patrol answers calls for service, and we don't have the time to be able to do this. So this is why they have these units.
You brought a very interesting point up. On a novice, of course, would say, well, what happened to the patrol officer? Well, unfortunately, in today's patrol officers are humping from one call to the next nonstop, and it's hard for them to look left and right and see these problems. So that's why these units are born. Now, with the foot patrol guy or the patrol officer, do they kind of like stay in the same general area, or are they rotated around?
No, for example, the beat officers have their areas. So you'll have the beat officer that works the northwest side of the street. You have the beat officer that works the southeast side of the street. So they're assigned to different areas.
It was like the old TV show. You're a little too young. You're a young Wonder Woman. They used to have Bumper Morgan, the Blue Knight. That was 100 years ago. And that's what he would do. He would be your neighborhood enhancement team. So for you young guys that are listening out there and have no idea what I'm just talking about, I will apply that to the show notes, the Blue Knight, Bumper Morgan, and you can see what I'm talking about. Now, the enhancement teams, if I'm a citizen, I live in the general area, and I've got a good idea, who do I speak to get my idea out there?
Well, you have your neighborhood resource officer. You will reach out to this officer. And if you're like the department that I work for, we're very good when it comes to meeting the citizens and going to the businesses and, meeting the leaders of the community. So basically, most likely you will know who your neighborhood resource officer is. And if you don't, obviously just reach your department and ask those questions. They'll be able to give you the name and phone number or email address of the person that's assigned to your area. For the most part, in our township, we know who they are. We personalize ourselves with people, and we're approachable. So if you don't, just call the department and ask, listen, who's the neighborhood resource officer for my area? This is what's going on. I have an idea. And I want them to pass by my house and hear what I have to say.
Now, the beat officers must be really popular in this concept, and because I'm sure a lot of bad guys got information that they want to give. So, I like the idea. Yeah. I like the NET model. If you're listening, maybe your agency doesn't have one. Maybe you should look into it if they should or not. We'll post some of this information, where it came from and how it got started. Anything else you want to add on the neighborhood enhancement team?
Just, I find it very helpful, because I think that officers get questioned a lot. Well, why aren't you doing this, and why aren't you doing that? Didn't you see this happening, and how could you miss that? A lot of times you have one neighborhood resource officer per neighborhood. There's only one person in a very big community. They cannot possibly see everything. They cannot possibly hear anything. So it behooves everyone within the community to take part in the crime-solving process so that you can make your own community safer. Do not depend just on one officer to keep your community safe. Obviously, if there's something going on and you call 911, yes, we're going to respond. but those are reactive calls. This is something that we react to. You call, we react, we respond. A lot of proactivity comes with people within the community. So if you take a proactive approach in the community and relay all of this information to the officer, then the officer can better help you. So if you know who the drug dealer is, tell the neighborhood resource officer. If you know who's that person that's always drinking out in public, tell the neighborhood resource officer. If you know who's the one that's breaking in all the cars, tell the neighborhood resource officer. So then you can get something done.
Right.
The resource officer can only take care of what he sees or she sees or hears. And then they handle it. But if they don't hear it, if they don't see it, then how can they take care of it? You are their ears, you are their eyes. So you need to communicate that to them so they can better assist you and make your community safer. A lot of people are afraid to talk to the cops. Oh, I don't talk to the cops.
Yeah.
And if you don't speak to the cops, then how is the problem going to be resolved?
Well, it was something that happened in their childhood. Their parents told them, look, see the cop over there? You keep it up, keep on acting bad. I'm going to turn you over to the cop. They've never been the same, a lot of these guys. Never been the same.
And to tell you the truth, that's one thing that whenever I'm walking by in uniform and I hear a parent say that, do you know that I actually stop and tell them, do me a favor, don't tell your child that.
It should be
That's
pointed
not
out.
true.
Yeah. First, you're lying.
And I do point it out because it's just, And I call the child over and I play with the child, and I usually carry toys in my car and I give the child toys, and the child is like, oh my God, so reluctant to
That's right. The last time
speak to me, but it's because of what they're being told.
There was a program that you came out.
I tend to address that. That's one of my pet peeves.
There was one of the programs you came out, you were asking for extra stuffed animals and stuff. Wonder Woman's job is never done. Fighting crime, ladies and gentlemen, is not easy. Now we're coming to the end of the program. We know we've negotiated this contract with your agent, Captain America. We don't want to violate it in any way. So it is our pleasure, as always, to have you on the show and give us your absolute wisdom in these areas of law enforcement. Now, before I let you go, I do have to tell you, I'm not one for spreading rumors. But some people out there are talking about some things, and all I'm going to tell you is, as the host of this program, Raider Cop Nation, I'm looking into it, and we'll let you know. Something's going on, but we're looking into it further. Remember, this is a law enforcement podcast, so we've got resources to find things out. As always, it is our pleasure to have Wonder Woman on our show. Thank you very much for being with us today on episode...
Thank you.
What episode are we on anyway? I just blew my ending. Did you notice that? On episode number 85. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Time to put the nuts and bolts on the NET, Neighborhood Enhancement Teams. Now, we heard a great depiction of what they do and how they're broken up into sections and districts and units, and they have a structure of command. But neighborhood enhancement has been around in the government circles for a very long time. A lot of municipalities would use them, and it was an effort to try to get the community and businesses more focused on the neighborhood living standard, so government would kind of cater to them. But there was one avenue that was left out, and that was the neighborhood police officer, like Bumper Morgan. from the Blue Night. Now, cops would walk the beat in certain big municipalities up north in the northeastern section of the United States, and they would, of course, cohabitate and kind of monitor the neighborhood as you would think. And those that didn't belong were ushered out immediately. Those that belonged had somewhat of services were provided to them. The local patrol officer, therefore, had the ability to, let's say, learn a lot about the local business. Well, that was neighborhood enhancement back then, unofficial. And what law enforcement did was it hooked into something that had been around long ago. So this is like community policing on steroids. And it focuses a lot more on not only services for the citizen or the local citizen, but also it partners up with them and the businesses and so forth. Whatever violations are seen and so forth, the police can take action. So we're separating the regular patrol guy answering, humping. It's always hump day over at patrol. And we're creating these enhancement patrols where they can communicate better with the community as well as look for the outsider that definitely does not look like he belongs in the neighborhood, so they can kind of keep an eye on them. So it brings down crime and it does a whole lot of good. Now, some advocates might not like it. Of course, some officers might not be accustomed in certain locales to walk the beat like Bumper Morgan did in the Blue Night. But it is effective. I remember growing up in New York City as a kid, and I would see the neighborhood cops. You pretty much knew what days they worked and what they did and what their routines were. And you weren't stupid enough to cross that line. So I guess from my standpoint as a kid, it worked. We're always blessed to have Wonder Woman come on and give us that knowledge on NET. There will be more programs coming with Wonder Woman in the years to come, and we're glad that her agent could put this deal together. Now, this is just between me and you, the listener, so let's keep it under a hat. But we've been looking into this situation, and this isn't just your regular agent that put together the deal. Oh, there's something more. If you recall, on episode 81, PIO, we learned that there was not one splash at the end, but two. Therefore, we looked into it a little deeper, and we did a announcement, which we'll post on the show notes, of some of our investigative findings, and our surveillance team picked up some pictures. Now, folks, there's a little bit more here that meets the eye between Wonder Woman and Captain America. But for now, we're going to kind of just let that go and see if either Captain America or Wonder Woman want to confess what's really going on. As always, we encourage you to continue listening to our airwaves. RadioCopNation.com have a lot of content for you. We can always provide that. Hold on a second. Hey, buddy. Huh? You want to tell me something? Sure. What do you want to tell me? What? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the plot is thinking. The agent, Mr. Little Sparky, has come forward with some information and revealed the truth. I don't want to really state what it is now on the airwaves because although I like little Sparky, we still have to confirm this. Don't worry, Sparky. You'll still get your annual fee, your finder's fee. But for now, stay tuned. This is getting a little bit more interesting by the second. And what I believe Sparky told me, of course, we're saying it to analysis to find out. But what I believe he's telling me will be quite shocking to the audience. Well, what are we going to do? What's up next? Well, we've got Kilo Sierra is going to bring the off-duty officer. As I said, this is a program curriculum that he created. He will be down in Palm Beach in the month of May, and he's going to be giving a course to some security professionals there on the off-duty officer. Kilo will be with us. Now, of course, he's not going to give us the entire course here, kids, so, you don't have to bring any popcorn. But he's going to give us a synopsis of what this course is about, and I encourage those to listen. And by the title, kids, off-duty officer. Yeah. We can figure this out. So that's with Kilo Sierra, and that's going to be April 17th. We're looking forward to that. There's always people out there that reach out to us, and some people have told us, hey, Alpha, you were kind of in the first couple of shows of the year talking about the officers that succumbed to injuries and died in the line of duty. And we did that with all due respect, and they are brave that they gave their life. But some people were kind of not turned off by it, because that wouldn't be the proper analogy. But they said it was put a bummer on their day. So, kind of make jokes, lift them up on one side, and we were kind of bumming them out on the other. So we decided that we're going to add a show towards the end of the year on those officers that died in the line of duty for 2019, instead of kind of like just doing it every week and so forth. And I understand that, because for those that wear the badge, it hits home, just like they are families. So we don't want to end everybody's day with a bummer. We've got superheroes out there working for us, and they deserve the biggest honor that we can give them. And on that, I just want to close out with this. My homeowners association recently sent me, and not only me, I was speaking to several neighbors that were whining and complaining about things that they told them that they had to fix or else. But I got a simple letter that said, Code Homeowners Association violation, some freaking number on there. Decorative flag. And I looked at it and scratched my head a little bit. I looked at it again. Decorated flag. I don't know what the hell that means. And how in the world can I be in violation of anything? Well, I said I could take it down, or I can leave it up. But I've decided to leave it up until the Homeowners Association gets its finger out of its rear end and clearly explains to me what a decorative flag is. Because the only flag that I am flying is the American flag that is for mourning police officers that die in the line of duty. So while the Homeowners Association can rethink their position because I've ignored them, we'll keep you up to date to see what their stupidity is. Boy, there's haters out there. How can you be so ignorant to write somebody a letter and say decorative flag? when you fully know what the hell that flag means. And then you're supposed to act professional. It's a good thing, folks, that I've retired from the professional realm and now I can only act stupid. So I will be with my homeowners association. As always, it is my honor and my pleasure to be your host on Raider Cop Nation. I remind you to pray for yourself, pray for your family, pray for your community, pray for the agency that serves you, and most importantly, pray for the United States of America. This is Alpha Mike, signing out.
And guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet.
Show me a light, what the heck? 4323, QSR 1322.